Good afternoon. Matt Holscher here with Miami Executive Coach. Today I'm going to go over the 4 ways that I've boxed up my first 4 Google Hangouts on air. I have been speaking for over 10 years as a member of Toastmasters International. I've spoken on stages at corporations like Office Depot. I've spoken in front of groups at Ignite Miami. I'm an expert with PowerPoint. I finished the Toastmasters program. I'm a distinguished Toastmaster. I've used GoToMeeting and WebEx for over 10 years, so I have a lot of experience in giving presentations online. When Google Hangouts came out, I was intrigued by this new platform because of all the power it offers entrepreneurs, salespeople, and anyone with a cause, a message that they want to get out and share with the world. What I wasn't expecting was how easy it was to mess one up when compared to, say, a WebEx or a GoToMeeting. There are a couple key things that are different that I'm going to review in this webinar so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. So, let's get started. The first mistake is actually at the very beginning in scheduling your Google Hangouts on air. Because when I did my first one, I thought, hey, just like Facebook, I'm going to have an event. I will do this just like an event. So I went to Google+, went down to the Events tab, and scheduled my event. It gives you the option for having a Hangout, but it is not a Hangout on air. And the critical difference is I had 30 people signed up ready to attend my first webinar, but as an event, which just uses the plain Hangouts, only 8 people can attend. It's a private video call for up to 8 people, not for everyone. So here I am trying to schedule this webinar. 30 people want to attend, and nobody can get on because I started in the wrong place. The right place to start is actually to go to Google Hangouts in the menu, and in the middle you'll see a Hangout on Air. Schedule your Hangout event, your webinar there, and then go back to the events page and it will show up in the events page. And that is exactly why it is so incredibly confusing. I hope someone at Google tunes in and watches this just to see all the mistakes that I made so that they can make it easier. Because like Android, it's an extremely powerful tool, but the user interface just isn't there. There's too many potholes, too many ways you can mess it up. And that's what I wanted to cover today, because there are lots of videos, if you go on YouTube, about how to schedule it and how to do it, and I thought I did it right, but then I found these pitfalls that I just fell into. So when you're looking at a Hangout on Air, it's a public event. There's an unlimited number of people who can attend. It's automatically recorded to YouTube. And then you can go back and make it private if you want to use it for your paid programs or you don't want to share it with everyone. And you have that choice. A regular Hangout, which can be a video call with 8 people, is not recorded, so you don't get it for posterity. It's meant to be a one-time video conversation. Okay, so my second one that I scheduled the right way using Google Hangouts on Air, I used the links in a lot of my marketing, and I decided I needed to practice. So I didn't accidentally. I deliberately clicked the Start button. And what happened was I started the Hangout on Air 5 days before my webinar inadvertently, without even knowing, not even realizing what I had done. But with a Hangout on Air, the beautiful thing is that you get the YouTube link and the event link in advance, and you want to get those links in the lower right corner, not in the Start Video pane. And those links then can be used for all your marketing, Facebook, social media, and tweeting. But it's like a gun with one bullet. Once you click that Start button, those links are used and no good anymore. So on my second webinar, I had another 25 people ready to learn about my relationship secrets. I was ready to go live on time, and there was no Start button. Everything looks exactly the same, only there's no Start button down at the bottom. And I pulled my hair out for 5 minutes trying to figure out, why can't I start my broadcast? I'm ready, it's time, everything's all set. Could not do it because I had already shot the one bullet in the gun. So I had to go back outside of the Hangout on Air, and in the menu section you can duplicate your events, host it again, but you get a fresh set of links, and then you have to send those links out to all your people. So first, schedule one with some friends to practice. Then get used to the links, and just realize you got one bullet in that gun. If you click Start Broadcast, it's done, and you got to start all the way over at the beginning again. And this is all part of understanding the technology. You know, the second mistake I really made was in the technology. First, there's that linking issue, which is technology and related to Hangouts versus Hangouts on Air. But I also made a mistake just using my computer because I don't use an Apple. I still use a Windows PC. I use Chrome because it's a Google application, so I know their browser will have home field advantage. But for instance, I got everything ready, and about 15 minutes before my Hangout on Air, I thought, you know what? I'm going to reboot my computer because it's a good idea to reboot, gets rid of all the processes that are running, the email, all the stuff that's been turned on while I'm opening 20 tabs on my computer at once. And one time, I had some Windows updates, and they started installing. And it took 25 minutes for those Windows updates to install, and I ended up starting my Google Hangout on Air over 10 minutes late. I had no idea Windows was going to do that, so it's a good idea to reboot. I recommend rebooting 60 minutes before your Hangout on Air. If you've rebooted the day before, rebooting 10 or 15 minutes beforehand is still a great idea to make sure your computer's fresh, broadcasting at its full speed, and none of the other applications are in the background competing with your bandwidth, which will affect your YouTube video quality. Besides the technology, you also want to pay a lot of attention to the sound. What is the speaker you're going to use? A lot of presenters use their iPhone or cell phone microphone because you get earbuds to hear, you get a microphone right here in your voice, and then you can plug that in directly to the computer. If you want to be like an announcer, you could run it down your shirt and try to hide that cable. I prefer not to do that. My office is pretty quiet. I'm sure my sound's a little bit more open and echoey than you would prefer on, say, a professional video, but this is Google Hangouts. It's about an impersonal conversation, and a little less than perfect actually makes you come across as more authentic. So for me to be free and not to have those dangly wires, I'm using the speakerphone and my Logitech HD camera. So this is the sound that you get from using a speakerphone. If you had the headset with the microphone, you will get the crispest, most clear audio. I use that for my coaching calls when I'm coaching over Skype or Google Hangouts, a great tool just for coaching and communicating with clients. But for the Hangouts, I like the open, airy sound of the speakerphone, and I know how to control my environment, which we'll get to in a minute, so I don't have to worry about that. The last thing with the technology is to remember to look at the camera. It's so distracting and natural for us to want to make eye contact with ourselves on the screen, but when we do that, it doesn't come across as natural because the viewer's eye is the camera you're recording into. Laptops, when you're kind of looking down at the laptop camera, seem to look more natural. I try to keep my camera right at eye level so that I look like I'm communicating with you. And I actually have my notes, which I'll show you in a little bit, directly underneath the camera so that I'm not looking off to the side. If I keep my notes off to the side, you see me doing this when I'm reading my notes, and then I'm coming back to you, and it's very distracting. If I move my cameras off the eye and actually look at me on the screen, this is me looking at me at the screen. Do you feel like I'm connecting with you? Do you feel like I'm looking at you? Now I'm looking at you. So remember to keep your eyes focused dead in the heart of the center of that camera so that you're making eye contact with your audience and building trust. Okay, now let's talk about the third mistake I made. Once I got the technology right, once I got the links right, once I got my computer rebooted and cleaned up and ready to go, I was so excited thinking I finally passed all the obstacles. Except I had a new one, and it's called the environment. You have to keep an eye on your environment. For example, you really don't want strong backlight. And I'm actually breaking that rule right now. If you look at my atrium behind my office, you can see that's a really bright light. But my camera is so good, it knows to stay focused and lit for me, and that just turns out being very bright white and getting blown out. But a lot of people will be right next to a bright window and their screen will be black. So you want to do some Google Hangouts, test your camera, see what you look like on the screen, and make sure it's good. You can add additional lights, like for example, I have my overhead lights, I have a lamp here on this corner on, and for a little fill light, I have some of the IKEA $20 LED lights. They're bendable, you can put them in any direction, and if you need more light, those will give you plenty of nice fresh light. You might even have to put a little piece of paper over it to dull them down a little bit. They're that bright. I also have a window in my office in front of me off to the side that's providing a nice natural fill light. So that's how I set up my office to do that. But you need to be aware of your environment, where the windows are, how the lighting works. You also have to be aware of the sounds, what's going on in your environment. Because in my third one, I didn't lock the dog up. So the dog was barking throughout the demo. Somebody walked by in the street, nothing throws off my speaking, and you're listening like hearing a dog bark, because that's the point of the barking, to get your attention and take it off of me. Now, Boone, if you want to see Boone, like me on Facebook, check out my Facebook page, but he's locked up in the Kindle so that he can relax. And if the dog wasn't bad enough, I did the Hangout on air while my cleaning lady was here. Didn't even dawn on me that I had scheduled the Hangout on air at the same time that my cleaning lady normally cleans. So while I was talking about relationship secrets, in the window, you were seeing my cleaning lady with the vacuum. She's walking back and forth in her red shirt. It's completely distracting, and I'm sure my audience was wondering, what the heck is that woman doing in the background? So now I make sure no Hangouts on air during cleaning lady days. I don't do it with my landscapers here running the lawnmower, the blower, the weed eater, and the edger while I'm trying to talk. And I try to keep mindful of my schedule so that I don't have any interruptions during that day. I also keep track of electronic sounds. Actually, that's an important one I forgot to mention. You got to make sure that your cell phone is turned off, on mute. I've got 2 iPads, another tablet, and even my office phone, my landline. I set it outside and set it to mute, so hopefully I don't get any landline calls that, again, just act as distractions. Okay, the fourth way I messed up my Google Hangout on air was missing the entheos, the true beauty of a Hangout on air is a chance for you to connect with your audience and for your audience in this virtual world to get to know you, to feel you, to hear your voice, to see, to feel your passion. You can write, I am very excited about coaching. I have been coaching for a long time. My clients all love my coaching. And it's very dry coming off the page. But when you log into this video, when you hear me talk to you and share my passion for you about presentations, it's contagious. You can say, that guy can help me add more power, more oomph to my presentation, and I want to be like that too. So in my fourth Google Hangout on air, I had already given that presentation to a large audience. I'm used to speaking on a large screen, and there was a huge screen behind me presenting my PowerPoint with my points and a few images as a background. So I thought, well, how easy would that be? I can do a Google Hangout on air, I can talk, and one of the options is being able to flip over to the PowerPoint. And when I did that, I completely broke the connection with the audience. I do not recommend doing PowerPoints for any kind of sales or marketing presentation via Hangout on air. If you're doing a training, if you're going to do a screencast, and like you can see many examples, if you Google Hangout on air, people have started with them, and then they do a screencast, and they show you how to schedule it step by step. That's extremely helpful, but you don't connect you with the audience. You're just giving information. So you want to make sure that the person's already enrolled in your program, already a paying customer, before you use Hangouts in that sort of way. If you want to establish yourself as an expert, if you want people to be able to feel you so that they can make the emotional decision to do business with you, you want to do a Hangout on air with nothing breaking that eye contact, the trust, and the connection you get over this kind of video. When I did my weight loss video, instead of doing PowerPoint with pictures or showing screenshots, I actually brought the props in. It's actually very entertaining to say, you know, I'm selling this pen, and here's the pen right here. It's not a picture of it. You're using the widget, and it makes it very authentic and real. So when I did my weight loss program and I was talking about my Fitbit, I'm like, you get a Fitbit Force right here. You get an ARIA scale. So I brought the scale in and showed it. And it doesn't break the connection with your audience. Plus, you have to remember that you may or may not be watching this full screen. The advantage of Hangouts on Air is that you can watch it on any platform, from a tablet to the screen to your mobile phone. But if you have a mobile phone screen that's this big, and then you have a PowerPoint with even big font, it's like this big, and you can't read it. So you can't read it. The moment your brain goes into reading mode, you turn off the feeling mode and go into analyzing the words, and you're breaking the connection with your audience on multiple levels. So don't do that. Just write the presentation and deliver it. I found I used to want to do just YouTube videos to promote myself, and it was incredibly hard to schedule the time to sit down and record the information perfectly every time. And I found doing the Hangouts on Air was great, because right now I don't know if there's 1,000 people in the audience, 1 person in the audience, or 0 people in the audience, because it doesn't matter. I'm talking to you as if you're the only person that matters, because you are the only person that matters, because you are the one watching this. It's just one-to-one contact, but it's broken. I can't see you. You can only see me. So I have to talk to you with the same enthusiasm, the same passion that I would if you were sitting right here in front of me, if we were coaching out on my back patio in front of the lake. This is the real me. This is what you get. So this is your chance to really feel me. Don't block that connection with PowerPoint. In fact, besides being too small, you really want to be there and just list out your points that you want to make. This is about a 20 to 30-minute presentation, and all I did for that, all right, you ready? Here are the notes. Like I said, right underneath the video, here are the notes with the 4 points. You can't see, this is another reason not to do, well, PowerPoint works better than this because it's backwards. It becomes a mirror image. But I just have my 4 points here, so it's very easy for me to remember what I want to talk to you about and those few key points that I want to mention. Props, don't use PowerPoint. YouTube's too small. Oh, heart connection, maintain a connection with your audience. Okay, the 2 things I didn't mention yet that are more advanced speaking techniques, but is to build in a yes chain. Ask your viewer some questions in which they say yes to so that they become in agreement with you and open themselves up to allowing your information in. And when you're telling a story, never be the guru of your own story. These are 2 little bonus nuggets. Start with some yes chain questions and ask 3 questions where somebody can say yes to. And when you tell a story, never be the guru of your own story. When my first Hangout on Air bombed, I had an old friend from scuba diving named Jim, and he was kind enough to give me some feedback about what went wrong. He showed me the link issue, and he shared some of his experiences using Google Hangouts because he travels around the country in an RV and teaches older people how to use technology, from computers to tablets to social media platforms, so they can see pictures of their grandkids. And that's how he gets his gas money for his RV. It's got to do something while you're retired. It's no fun just to sit there and do nothing. And so because he had experience with it, he was impressed with my enthusiasm, he told me these first 3 mistakes and helped me correct them. So now I can share those with you. And that makes Jim the guru of my story. Because Jim taught me it's much easier for you, the viewer, to accept the information I'm giving you because I learned it from someone else. That keeps me equal at your level, and I'm getting it from someone else. Now, when you share this with someone else, you can say, I learned these great tips about Google Hangout marketing from Matt Fulcher online. And then your friend understands that I'm the guru of the story and you're at their level. When you get on your high horse and you take credit for all the information and the knowledge, it sounds so much more like preaching. You need to do Google Hangouts because I'm the Google Hangouts master and this is the way it should be. That's putting me above everyone else, and I'm talking down to you because I know everything and you know nothing, so watch this video and understand me. When you tell the story where someone else is your teacher, it shows that you're a learner and you're passing that information on, and that makes it much, much easier to take in. So follow a yes chain, never be the guru of your own story. So that sums up the 4 mistakes. Do you remember what they are? Mistake number 1, schedule a hangout on air. Do not go into events and do not schedule a hangout. After you schedule your hangout on air, you will see it in the events. Mistake number 2, technology. You got 1 bullet in the gun with those links. If you click the start button, those links have been used and they're now deactivated. You got to start all over again, and you can duplicate your event. Practice. Practice rebooting your computer. Practice giving the video. Have a hangout call with your friends and get the hang of the technology so it doesn't stumble you up. Mistake number 3, environment. Make sure your environment's set, that you have good lighting, good sound, that there are no distractions to take you away from your audience and break that connection. Number 4, presentation. Keep it a conversation between you and your guests. Use props, but avoid PowerPoint and avoid screen shares unless you're doing purely informational training. It's a real turnoff unless somebody's already said, I want that information and I will pay attention to what you have to say. You got to make them want it first. So, Google Hangouts is a completely new way of doing something very old. I'm not doing anything new here when it comes to public speaking or presenting online, but it's just a little bit different, and you have to be really aware of what your intention is, what's the message you want to get across, and how you want it to be received so it can be extremely powerful. Because not only do you have this free medium, not only do you have free video hosting, but because you're feeding the Google machine, you can feed it keywords and boost your organic search and your paid search for your products, services, business, or consulting. Feed the beast, and the beast will feed you its traffic, and you both will be happy. If you feel scared about doing this, if you'd like somebody to walk you through the process, I would be happy to do a deep dive day with you where we can talk one-on-one, set your intention, review your presentation, practice online, and I will give you written or verbal feedback on your video presentation and what you need to do to get to the next level to be more powerful in just one day, 6 hours. So if you're interested in that deep dive day, send me an email at matt@miamiexecutivecoach.com. Call me, 305-741-4284, 305-741-4284, or subscribe below. Find me on Facebook. Give me a tweet. I'm very accessible, and I'd be happy to help you go through the process and practice so that you can have your first one with confidence and not make any of the mistakes that I've talked about here today. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your presentations. When you do your first one, put a link to it at the bottom of this video and share it with me. I'd love to see what you've accomplished and what you're able to do with this powerful new tool. My name is Matt Holscher. I'm the owner and head coach at Miami Executive Coach, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.